back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, recap of stage 14 of the Tour de France. The first, I would say, multi-mountain stage. I can grant you the Tourmalet with the Aspan before, but this was a really hard stage with also multiple long climbs. We're in the Alsace region from Mulhouse to Le Marchestein, 155 kilometers long. We start basically in break formation with the Grand Ballon, 21.5 Ks at 5%, but all the climbing's at 8%. There's a flat section in the middle. Then there's a shallow descent. They do another 10K 5% climb that's a bit steeper, the Col du Page. Another descent, Ballon d'Alsace, which they did yesterday, which is 21 minutes if you do 6.6 watts per kilo at 6.87%. Then another descent valley, a little medium mountain, the Col du Scherm, and then the Col du Hague afterwards, which is quite irregular, quite narrow, huge crowds on the course today. But again, we have a plateau on top. So the last 5.5 Ks are flat to downhill terrain, but the actual climbing on this is steep. 3.6 Ks, 9% start, 1K descent, another 3 Ks, 8%, another 500 meters flat, and then the last 1.5 Ks are 10.5%, about 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes for someone like Pogacar. And I think the idea with this parcours, Benji, is to keep... I think they had a plateau on the stage Poggy won in 23, right? Le Marchestein?
Yes, they did. Now, looking at this specific parcours, I think our take yesterday was quite simple. Either Tadej Pogacar wins from the peloton if UAE controls, or if the gap from the peloton to the breakaway is too significant, then the breakaway will win and it will most likely be Carapaz. That was our take yesterday. I do think today's stage was a little bit more intriguing than that. And it starts off with an intermediate sprint, like you mentioned, just after the start. And I'm pretty sure Alpecin was controlling for that, where Philipsen took the 25 points, so 5 points ahead of Miss Pedersen. Canter took 16 points, Biniam only 4th, so he loses 11 points to Philipsen and 6 towards Pedersen. We'll get to the intermediate sprint green jersey classifications after we finish up this stage, but that's a couple small changes there when it comes to that. I feel like the break formed almost instantly after that. Once the first half of the Grand Ballon started, a 37-man breakaway formed because I think it was Steinhauser leading out Carapaz into creating a breakaway, and I swear it instantly worked. And in those 37 riders, we had lots of EF riders, Patrick, Ben Healy, Carapaz, Baudin, Steinhauser, but what did you think when you saw Tom Pidcock again in the break?
Yeah, that was sort of unexpected. The second time he's fourth on GC, but UAE didn't react on anything. UAE were doing it is the Visma 23 strategy. They literally just had Pollitt staring at his power meter. And they're like, if we ride from the start to the base of Col du Hague with Pollitt, Wellens, Großschartner, the break's not going to win. The break's not making it over the top. That's what they figured out they could do, and so they didn't react. So we saw them not marking Jorgensen. 3 Visma go in, half of EF. They don't even care that Pidcock's in. In fact, no one cared that Pidcock was in. That was kind of the mirage of today, is that everyone, it was an illusion that, we gotta get away from Pidcock because the break will get chased down because Pidcock's in it. Red Bull and Trek didn't even get the chance to chase the breakaway. UAE were going to do the pace they were going to do. But yeah, big break forms. It looks like it. And Jordan Gigat said the other day, he said, I don't blame UAE. He said, that we get in breaks, we don't work together.
Yeah, that's true. And if you look at the specific riders in this group next to the teams we already mentioned, then Visma's in there with 3 riders in Jorgensen, Kampenaerts, and Armirai. Red Bull has, I think, Cataneo and Tratnik up there. Valentin Paré-Panther for Solo Quickstep. 3 riders for Ineos and Bernal, Arensman and Vos. 3 riders for UNOX. Importantly, Harald Johannessen 1 and 2, so Tobias and Anders, and also Anders Skarser, and a bunch of riders for Movistar, and also the legend himself, future Alpe d'Huez winner, Sepp Berwick. There's a bunch of other riders, but those are the most important ones in this breakaway. You already said it. UAE will keep pacing this. And you already said that people don't work together, and that's what highlights my next conversation here. Is it helpful when Ben Healy and Castillo go on a fuga de la fuga, attacking from the breakaway, halfway the fast climb?
I think they wanted to get away from Pidcock. That's what everyone wanted to do. And the group wasn't cooperating, maybe because of Pidcock. But I think I can understand it with EF. You want to get multiple riders, but you needed a break, I think. You needed a bigger break going into the last valley. After Ballon d'Alsace, you need a group of 10 with like 3 rouleurs dead pulling and a bit more time, because it's not like the break doesn't have a chance here. I mean, Carapaz finishes and Johannesson, they finish a minute 20 and a minute 40 back. And that's also like if they were on the wheel over the top, it was less. So Carapaz needed less than a minute extra to fight for the stage win here. But it's not, I don't think it's EF's fault either. I think EF did the right thing. But just a few things.
At what point? The first Healy move halfway the first
yeah,
climb?
Not that I don't get that. Then after that, they were like, stop this. They started to hard pace with Steinhauser. But where you can take the time is not on Pollitt on 6-7%. It's on the descents or on the intermediate terrain over the KOM, VPP and Carapaz sprint. We see this every Grand Tour. It's the most telegraphed thing ever. Carapaz's like, no effort wasted. Let's continue. And they continue onto this plateau. Uno X do a twin attack, literally, with the Johannesson twins with Healy. We now have 2 Uno X, 2 EF in front, and Healy starts riding full. You had about 1 minute to react, or you're gone here. And Visma had 3. They went over the KOM at the back. Simmons was at the back, but he was isolated. Pidcock also, he can't risk too much here jumping. He also has to try to not blow up at the end. But yeah, then we see Arensman go across with Castrillo and Rubio. Bang, it's done.
Yep. That's a group that gets away, and that group looked like it was going a lot more cooperative than before. And I felt like if this group gets a gap of maybe 4 or 5 minutes, then maybe they can make it. Because then towards the end, the gap will come down. You said it. If Carapaz by the end of the stage had a minute more than he had left at the end of today's stage, then he most likely makes it. But in the peloton, it is UAE pacing, climb by climb, Pollitt doing a lot of the early work. And I think Grosschartner did a significant portion of today's stage, actually. But I think all in all, there was one moment in the descent of the second climb of the day, the Col du Page, where in the peloton a split happened. And
yeah. No, but I do want to go back, like, Visma have to be in that EF move with Jorgensen.
Sure.
And
a lot of teams in that breakaway have multiple riders and they missed it.
Yeah, but how many have 3 and missed it?
Ineos.
No, Arensman got across. You can't say...
and he dropped later, you're right.
No, but he had a puncture, and he had a puncture.
Yeah, fair.
Arensman was across with Movistar.
Fair, with Rubio.
So... Yeah, Visma then left, and you saw straight after Pogacar, he comes up and he's laughing about something with UAE on the road.
What is it with Ineos getting a mechanical like every half an hour, by the way?
So many.
Ghana yesterday, Vokalab a billion times. I can't even count their mechanicals anymore, and I don't know. Something
it was so bad for Arensman. He was Castrillo was going to deadpool them across, and he has the flat. He's like, Arensman's doing 500 watts to stay with them. He's waiting for his team car to get there. He had a flat for ages, and he's riding 500 watts probably to stay with them. Team car gets there. Castrillo's not waiting, and he can't ever get back after the flat. And yeah, Arensman had magic legs today.
And I do think a rider like Arensman in that breakaway would have made more than a 15-second difference in the collaboration there. So I don't think it puts them in a winning position, but I do think it makes them more competitive as a whole as that breakaway. But I think it's fair to say that the gap went up to maybe 3 minutes at its maximum about halfway the stage. Like I said earlier, split in the peloton at the end of the descent of the Col du Page, the second climb. I think it was Pollitt at the front that was shredding it a bit hard, and then behind the, I think, Red Bull boys, there was a gap, and then Pedersen was closing it. So Visma had missed it, Little Trek had missed it, but it came back together pretty comfortably. That said, Red Bull did respond to it. They saw it, and they immediately put Trotnik, I think. I'm not completely sure. Someone at the front of that group might have been Trotnik already caught from the breakaway.
Trotnikissimo.
Yes, and he started pacing a little bit, but that split went nowhere. So from this point onwards, it was kind of just seeing Carapaz and VPP fighting each other for KOM points, and VPP was bloody fast, by the way, when it comes to intermediates.
VPP cooked him so hard the first time. Carapaz like, I'm not sprinting you anymore, and he just followed him to save the legs. Like, VPP, get him to Flanders.
Oh,
can Valentin Paris-Pantra top 10 Tour of Flanders?
I think it's not impossible in the modern era Tour of Flanders. Didn't he like catch Peterson on the flat 2 days ago or yesterday?
I think VPP is the most talented rider in the world.
Okay, let's not bloody exaggerate either.
He is.
Tadej Pogacar is a pretty talented cyclist.
He just works hard.
Okay. Anyway,
He just works harder than everybody else. The speaking of hard work, speaking of fueling, you might not get as good as this Valentine Paris-Pancher, but Morton have just brought out a new drink mix and gel mix. It's crazy. I got a box of it. If you want to have like even more fuel up your sleeve, you can actually fit this up your sleeve. I used this the other day in my in my ultra marathon, and I think it's like, how many carbs can you get in now, Luke, per hour? Luke's not allowed to speak on the podcast. I forgot.
Yeah, he's not allowed to. I'm afraid he's banned.
But anyway, that's why Morton has launched its new gel mix. It's a completely new format built around the same hydrogel technology as their gels and drink mix, and I actually prefer it. Like, I used it in the ultra marathon. I actually prefer it, but I really like sweet stuff. So your mileage may vary, but why not try it out? I think Morton we hear all the time about the high carb revolution. There's been discussion about how they're going so much faster in the Tour de France. On stages like today, they're all taking in 120 grams of carbohydrates every like 60 minutes minimum. Some of the big guys like Pedersen, probably Vatsek, taking in even more, 160 grams of carbohydrates. So, yeah, if you want to buy Morton products, you can get 15% off with the code LRCP Tour 26. That obviously doesn't last for the rest of the year. So if you want to get 15% off, make sure you use it now. And you can get a free box of Morton editions when you get drink mix as well. Go check it out through morton.com.
Now, that climb before the final climb, before the Col du Hac, that climb that I've been calling a bump for the last 24 hours, that is a pretty decent one. I think it's called the Col du Scherm, whatever it's called. I don't care. Gab goes down on that one. I think it's Großschartner really shredding it on that climb. Gab goes down from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. At that point, I'm sorry, but I don't believe in that breakaway anymore. And maybe halfway the last climb, I started dreaming of a Carapaz win again, but it was only coping. That's reality. So from this point onwards, until we get to the Col du Hague, it's, I think, Healy dropping from that breakaway group, and then eventually Anders Halland Johannessen also dropping once we get to the Col du Hague. MVP of the day, both of the riders, especially Anders Halland Johannessen, is the kind of rider where 3-4 years ago you had like clearly Tobias being the more talented brother. Anders is a lot better and a lot more relevant for the team than he was 3-4 years ago.
He won Tour of Slovenia last year. Like, he's winning pro races, yeah.
He's grown massively, and I feel like that Slovenia was really the breakthrough for me, where I was like, okay, this guy could be a really competent World Tour climber at that point. Now, gap has come down to 2 minutes. We're starting to Col du Hague, the final climb. You said it already. It's narrow. Lots of public. Badasadero will become relevant in the last 1.5 kilometers. And also not exactly the most steady climb in terms of gradient, but I think the climb starts with only a minute left for this breakaway. McNulty starts the climb, but it's quickly taken over by a different team, Patrick. Were you surprised to see the Decathlon take over with Tige Benoot?
No, this is what they did on Pertus. They take over with Benoot, and you know they're going to go with Prudhomme, and they're going really, really hard, and they're trying to shake off the pacers. And we have some pacers here. Del Toro's a pacer. Ayuso's a pacer. Schkelmo's a pacer. They're guys who like a steady pace, not an explosive hard start to these climbs. They want to ride to their threshold. And so Decathlon trying to shake them out, because if you shake them off the wheel, then there's a flat set. There's literally a 1K descent in this after 10 minutes. And then the pacing gimmick doesn't work if you are then out of the draft on that descent section. Same goes for about 1.5 Ks from the top of the climb. There's a flatter section. So I like Decathlon's strategy. I like them going for it. I like them just being aggressive, not being scared of anybody. And I think Großschartner deserves, a big hat tip today. I think he was a monster, to be honest. Like, Großschartner on the Ballon d'Alsace crushed the break. And if he didn't do that pull, and if Pollitt didn't do such a good job before, especially on the descents, then the break could have won today. So
Yep,
but
I think that's fair. But
we saw it again, the same as
pulling,
Pertus. UAE's dominance, like I just mentioned in that phase, is not the same on the final climb.
Fair. Today it kind of felt like, this is harsh, but it kind of felt like at the start of the climb it was a paper tiger, and then Benoit coming to the front really burned through their entire team. Because once Benoit hit the front, it wasn't just Piganzoli, Hindley, McNulty dropped. Adam Yates started dropping. Ayuso and Pidcock started getting in trouble. Pidcock dropping properly. Ayuso looked like he was suffering from kilometer 0 on this climb. And I don't know what it is, but the man always looked like he's about to drop. Always. And he doesn't at this point. And while this is happening, Carapaz drops, I think, Tobias Holland Johannesson ahead. Still 55-second gap, and that actually stays the same for a while. And after Benoit, Prodom is the one that takes over, I think, for the decathlon. And while that is happening, in his wheel is Tadej Pogacar, with no teammate around him in that spot. Lipovic in third wheel, Remco, Sixas, Jonas, sorry, after Poggi, then Lipovic, Remco, Paul Sixas, Skelmose, Del Toro towards the back, seemingly not having the greatest of time at this point of the climb, Lenny Martinez, and then Ayuso. But it looked like Martinez was on the brink of tipping out, and then there was a moment with 8 kilometers to go where Del Toro moves up on one side, and that's when Sepp Kuss takes over, Patrick. And when Sepp Kuss takes over, what do we see as the thought process when it comes to Visma Lease bike in Kuss taking over here?
I guess it was just to keep things together. It was just a rinse and... This whole climb was a rinse and repeat of Col de Pertus. Like, Jorgensen... Kuss sets a pace that's, like, pretty hard, but not dropping anybody, like Piganzoli. He stops. And then Vingegaard gets attacked by... Lipovic attacks, so Bora starts to play the numbers. And then... I think Del Toro was suffering a bit, but he comes back. Then Sykes responds, and then Kuss does like a dead pull to get Vingegaard back there. So Vingegaard tried to... Bluffing doesn't work if you're not committing to the bluff. So you either... you say, Poggy, I'm sitting on your wheel no matter what. I don't care if Sykes goes away and takes 2 minutes. But if you bluff, and then Poggy's like, well, I'll just call your bluff. I have 4 minutes on Sykes, and then you pace, it's... Yeah, Poggy will just call your bluff again the next time.
Now, what happens next for me is quite confusing, because I think with about 4.5 kilometers to go, once Kuss basically hard closes Lipovic and Sixas, Skelmos is dropping at this point. Jonas Vingegaard basically moves to the front directly and starts maybe a slight acceleration in the saddle. Looked more like he was just hard pacing from this point onwards for the next 5 kilometers, basically. And let's say 3 kilometers for now. And Jonas just starts hard pacing, and at first I'm like, okay, is he trying to shake the tree to see what falls out? I think that's fair to do, because a couple of riders in the group are definitely on their limit. Remco is struggling, and then Remco is still following for now. Lipovic, Sixas, Pogacar, of course, Ayuso, Remco, they're all following. Del Toro was gapped a little bit. He does return. Martinez is properly gone at this point. A kilometer later, Jonas keeps on pacing. Just keeps on pacing. Remco gets dropped. And he keeps on pacing for another 1.5-ish kilometers, grabbing Carapaz from the breakaway, catching him. I gotta be honest, I really don't see the value of Jonas Vingegaard pacing for 3.5 kilometers on this climb. Because the short-sighted answer is, he's doing it because he thinks that him hard pacing this climb makes it a better, longer steady effort for him versus Tadej Pogacar. But the reality is, Tadej Pogacar is just better at those efforts too. So it's not like that effort is going to work against Tadej Pogacar. And in the process, it's not like a teammate is pacing for him. He's doing the pacing. This climb is not a steady gradient. There's smaller gradients in there. And there's a draft in portions of this climb. So he's actively helping Tadej Pogacar in his wheel.
But isn't it then to like put Remco and to deter Red Bull from rolling attacks on him?
Well, you can say that, but 70% of the group is also benefiting from Jonas pacing.
Because like the problem is all these other guys, like we said, they're pacers. And this climb is not, it's steep, but there's recovery periods. And that's why it's so similar to Pertus. Really, really similar in that he squeezes Remco onto 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And there's still a K in a bit. And Remco did this really smartly again. Remco did it perfectly because he knows the plateau is coming. And he didn't go over his limit. But the problem is, it's like Pertus. Vingegaard gets to 2Ks to go on the climb. You can't go full gas on the flat. Everyone recovers a little bit. And then Pog's going to do 3 minutes full, 4 minutes full. And also the others recovered a little bit in your wheel.
In an ideal world, if Tadej Pogacar has a teammate here with 5 kilometers to go, what would he want that luxury domestique to do for the next 3 kilometers?
Probably the same. I mean, they were trying to nurse Del Toro over the climb again. That's why they're not going really early, or Pog's not going really early, because then it will possibly make Del Toro lose time or more time. So,
but if Pogacar had a luxury domestique, he would want them to hard pace until the moment he will attack. And right now, Jonas is doing that for him. So
they want to win the stage.
Jonas, what? Sorry?
They want to win the stage, and Carapaz had a minute.
Yeah. So Jonas is at this point quite simply being a literal lead out on this climb for Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah. And that's what he brings back. Johannes and Carapaz, 3 minutes to go. Poggy attacks, and it's the same as Pertus. Vingegaard, though, the difference is he does squeeze everybody off the wheel here. So I think,
what's the alternative? Because I can criticize this lead out strategy. The alternative is you make a move yourself. You risk Tadej Pogacar following you because on paper he's better anyway. But you might have instant separation with some of the others. The majority of the others, actually.
That's the thing. If you shake the tree a little bit more explosively and Sykes follows, maybe he just starts to pace to get rid of Del Toro and Remco and Lipovic.
Yeah.
But
possibly.
I
do think that's already a better strategy than just hard pacing in front of 5 riders.
Yeah, but then Red Bull going to attack him?
Well, no, because Remco would have dropped in that scenario too.
Yeah. And I also think once Remco was suffering a bit, then Lipovic is not supposed to attack anymore. I think looking at the final stage results of this stage, Pertus and Tourmalet, I think is not misleading as between Pogacar and Vingegaard, but at the end of the day, Vingegaard dropped everybody, apart from Pog here.
Yes.
Like
that's also what's expected.
He rode for the whole climb within their wheel, and then he dropped everybody out of the wheel again.
The expectations on a long climb is that Jonas not just drops the rest, but properly gaps them. Now, on a climb like today, it's a little bit different because there's a valley afterwards, so you can give a little bit on that. But I also doesn't think it helps Vingegaard that he hard paces 4.5 kilometers before having to squeeze Paul Sixas off the wheel trying to get back to Pogacar, who just countered you. If he doesn't do that hard pacing, then maybe it's a more explosive attack by Pogacar. But I also believe Jonas will properly gap the others then. Jonas is the second best climber clearly here at the race. And today we didn't see that clarity as much as we should because of that strategy is my take.
Yeah. And that's exactly. They're hanging on, and it's the same with the Pertus, the 2 climbs on the Pertus stage on Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll see. We'll see what happens on the Solis on tomorrow. But indeed, Pogacar goes over the top. It's a rinse and repeat of Pertus. He wins the stage. He extends the gap. He doubles the gap even on the flat last 5 kilometers, despite Sykes and Vingegaard working immediately together. Del Toro comes back to them on that descent and sits on. And he comes second. UAE 1-2 on the stage. Sykes third. Brilliant performance from him. Vingegaard loses 6 seconds at the finish. He finishes 4th. Remco does it perfectly. He rotates with Lipovic and Ayuso. He only loses 4 seconds in the end to Vingegaard, which he'll take. So GC, Pogacar extends his lead over 4 minutes. He's on 4:30 to Vingegaard. Evenepoel's 5:04, so he's on 34 seconds. Sykes is now 15 seconds off the podium. He was on the provisional podium at one point, but Remco came back. And Ayuso's 5:22, Lipovic 5:44, Del Toro 5:50 is right back into it. Schjelmoser lost quite a bit of time. A reasonable amount of time. He's on 7:35. Pidcock dropped. He's on 7:59. Lenny 8:25. Lenny's actually quite well placed to defend top 10 because there's a big gap from 10th to 11th is 7.5 minutes, nearly double his gap.
Okay, on the podium battle, I want to talk a little bit more. Remco coming back over the top and out sprinting, was it Lipovic and
Ayuso.
Ayuso? Yes, sorry. For some reason, I was going to say Del Toro, but Del Toro's not in the white jersey anymore. He just looks like he's in a white jersey because he's Mexican champion. So anyway, that to the side. I didn't see necessarily the weakness that I saw the other day in Del Toro as much, even though on the climb he had a few moments where he was gapped. I'm still not completely confident in his third week, though. Right now, if we had to select a podium, I would say obviously Tadej Pogacar wins Jonas second. For third place, Sexas has to be the name, even though on the long climbs in week 3 without these gimmick valleys in between, Plateau de Solaizon, for example, you're right. I would have to see a better Lipovic than today.
Not the best climb for Lipovic, I think. This stop-start. I think he's better on the Alpine climbs. Remember, Remco is going to take time in the TT. He's in good shape. He's riding pretty smart. But indeed, tomorrow is a huge one in the GC. Teams classification, UAE on 7 minutes. They're coming closer. Sykes takes the white jersey 3 seconds ahead of Ayuso. That's a fantastic battle. Del Toro is only on 31 seconds, so that is one of the best and most high-quality white jersey battles in quite a while. Pogacar, KOM, is now at 9 points ahead of VPP, so VPP is doing a pretty good job there. Tomorrow's stage, I think we're going to see proper gaps. I mean, we're seeing proper gaps from first and second, but between the podium guys, I think tomorrow we're going to see some serious gaps. 184 km from Champagnol to Plateau de Solaizon, which is near Geneva, near the Swiss border. And it is hilly terrain. It's not the same as today. The first 122 km is more hilly terrain. It's Wellens territory. Wellens wasn't as good today. It's more Großschartner, but tomorrow is really his sort of stage. So different guys can get in the break, not just climbers. We then have the hardest climb of the race to date, the Le Salève, 4.6 Ks, 11.1%, really steep in the middle. And it also starts, there's a climb like beforehand that's not part of the categorization. It's like 7K, it's like Marie Blanc, the full climb. Then they have the Côte du Mont Chat, I think, 2 Ks, 8% straight off the descent, and then a valley of 30 Ks, maybe 28 Ks. Then the Solaizon, hardest mountaintop finish we've had in the Tour, I think, since Col du Granon. 11.3 Ks, 9%. First 3 Ks are 11%. Really irregular and steep. Not high altitude, but there's no plateau on top as well.
For sure. So Plateau de Solaizon will already in itself have a lot of gaps, but I'm really wondering how Salève will play a role. It's quite a distance from the finish, but it's such a hard climb that I think in the route reaction in December, whenever it was announced, we were like, oh, we'd love to see a coup here, you know? Any team to do it. I'm not sure if anyone will have the guts to do it. To do it, you'd need a rider in the breakaway. Ideally, you'd need 2 riders in GC, unless you're willing to... If you're Jonas, are you willing to go all out on the Côte de la Salève? 40 kilometers to go before the Plateau de Solaizon? I wish he would. I'm not completely sure that they're willing to risk that.
Where are you going to go?
Yeah, you'd need 1 or 2 satellite riders in the breakaway, and you're still pacing against a peloton with most likely UAE pacing to try and control the stage for Pogacar.
Well, I mean, if you drop Pogacar, you probably worth giving it a crack.
Yeah, you're right.
In that scenario where you've dropped him, I think it's worth taking the risk to continue.
Good. Fine detail, sir. Fine detail.
I think your point is like, okay, you say you drop Ayuso, but you still got Pog and Sykes there. You still have a lot of valley there afterwards, and then there's the descent. But it's a really hard climb. Nicola Prudhomme, Tish Benoit, this is your time. I think Decathlon just send it for the lols.
Mate, if Decathlon just send it and Paul Sexas attacks on the La Salève climb with 50 kilometers to go before Plateau de Solaizon, the arguably biggest finish climb that we've had in this tour so far.
Let's go.
Aura farming into the wilds.
Let's go.
But does the breakaway have any chance?
Yeah. No, does Pog want to go for it?
You'd argue yes, but you never know.
I'll say the break has a chance.
The final climb, like, it's not... this is a harder final climb than the Col du Hac today. So
way harder.
if Carapaz needed 2 minutes on Col du Hac today, he needs nearly 3 minutes 30 on Plateau de Solaizon to survive.
And how are you going to get, like, a rouleur over Solev in the break with you?
You need like
Healy, I guess.
a Raul Garcia Pierna level rouleur climber, but his climbing might not be good enough to follow, I'm
that's
afraid.
A little bit, I like Raul Garcia Pierna, but I think he'd probably lose a lot of time to UAE on the Solev. You need Healy there. You need Johannesson again. You need the same composition.
Yeah. That is true. And actually, Thomas Holland Johannesson versus Carapaz could go either way on a climb like this.
Yeah. Oh, Carapaz. Cool. I think Carapaz in good shape.
Yeah, but I think Holland Johannesson came back to Carapaz just before they got caught today.
True, and it's a wall. And yeah, he didn't bother to continue as much. And yeah, he's good on these walls. I think... UAE yeah, I think they'll chase. I think
so too. I'll go for Tadej Pogacar, even though if Carapaz wins a stage in this race, I will be celebrating the roof off.
I think Pogacar by 15 seconds.
15 seconds on Jonas?
Yeah.
The way I've seen the climbing so far in this race is that on the climb, Tadej Pogacar doesn't take a minute on Jonas Vingegaard. There's no plateau section, no descent after Plateau de Selaison, so it's definitely just that climb. The one thing that worries me is that on Tourmalet, Vingegaard did crack with, what was it, 1.5 kilometers to go and started melting time. If that crack happens on Plateau de Selaison with 3 kilometers to go, 4 kilometers to go, then the gap could be significantly bigger. But if it's mano a mano on that final climb, I think the gap could be anywhere around 30 seconds, which I think would be a great performance by Jonas.
Yeah. I think there'll be big gaps, but yeah, Pogacar, he doesn't have to. He can also sit on and then sprint the last K. He can attack. He can do whatever he wants. To be honest, because
I think you should pick Jonas, Patrick.
I did pick, yeah, but I'm hedging my bets here because I picked Vingegaard in the preview. No,
damn it.
So I'm trying to balance the competition because that counts as well. I know I picked Vingegaard in the TDF preview, and I can hedge it with Pogacar. So
yeah, you took a few points back today because I gifted you a Tadej Pogacar.
Exactly. So I'm trying to take the competition seriously. I think Vingegaard and the level with Pogacar will be quite close tomorrow, and because it's not the same as Pertusen today. Sykes come on.
Does the way Solaizon is built in terms of steepness and so forth change how we see the difference between Tadej and Jonas? Because the more shallow the climb, the more I do benefit Pogacar. Because then I would say that absolute watts start to matter a little bit, not more than watts per kilo, but relative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like UAE
instead of 0%, they matter 10%, whatever.
Like UAE would rather Le Soleil was the Ballon d'Alsace.
Yeah.
For their team construction.
I think that's fair. But on the other hand, Tadej Pogacar's pretty good on both.
Exactly. So we'll see. Del Toro was pretty good on Solaizon de Dauphiné. He won on there with a huge lead out from the bottom from Torres and UAE.
It's a nice climb, actually.
It's a very hard climb, yeah. Very, very hard. So we'll see. You think Sykes drops is third?
Ooh. I think yes, but I think Lipovic will be much closer than today. At least you better hope so.
I think Del Toro will be third. I think Del Toro will pace himself.
Really?
I think he'll be third.
Okay, I'm not allowing that.
So yeah, that's our previews for tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be cheering for Carapaz. I wish Lenny Martinez win the break though. Imagine Lenny in these breaks. Because he's doing, but he's in top 10 in GC. It's fine. Thanks for listening. Yes.
Did you hear the rumors? I heard the rumors that I looked outside and my neighbors were talking about the fastest growing movie podcast in the world.
Indeed, the Odyssey, no free ads. The Odyssey recap is up on Unqualified Movie Reviews. Go check it out. The link is in the description down below. We went and saw it on opening night, Benji and I, not together, but that's up on...
Shame.
Exactly. That's up on Pod Players and on YouTube now. Go check it out. Thanks for listening. We'll see you with a recap of Solos on tomorrow. Until then, ciao, ciao.